And then we're going to check that one. Okay. You're not going to want to play ball, are you? You'll be there. See you next Tuesday. But what we can do is we can go there, we can go there, and we can go there. And then hopefully, okay, go live. Okay, and we're good. I've pressed all the buttons I need to press. Good morning, everyone. I hope you are having a fantastic Friday and you've had a fantastic week overall. It's nice to do another Q&A. I feel I haven't done one for a while. And who else could I have picked for my next Q&A than two fantastic women in Helen and Anna? You might recognize Helen. She has done a couple of Q&As with me before. But this time we're going to be talking about something completely well, I say a bit different, but we have kind of touched on it a little bit before. Obviously, Anna might be a new face to you guys, and these two ladies are the brilliant ladies behind the Save St Mary's Birthing Centre campaign, and we're going to talk a little bit about the campaign and the protest that's happening tomorrow. So firstly, ladies, thank you for taking the time out of what I can imagine to be an absolutely manic planning schedule right now to have a chat with me about this particular event.
Absolutely our pleasure. It is manic, but it's our pleasure to do this kind of thing.
Awesome. So let's start. For those people that might be watching this that aren't necessarily aware of the timeline, walk us through that timeline from starting out from the birthing centre up to where we're at now.
Oh goodness, I suppose it depends how far you want me to go back. The campaigns to Save St Mary's Birth Centre have been going on for, I think, probably decades. I signed my first petition 20 odd years ago. But the Save St Mary's Birth Centre campaign group, as it is currently, has been going for around about 16 years. I was speaking to some of the women who helped set it up, and we're a little bit hazy on the exact time frame, but certainly the Facebook group, you can tell because there's a date on it and it's like 16 years ago. And since then, there have been various conversations and various efforts to try and resolve the problem that the trust seems to have with St Mary's Birth Centre. So every few years, we've had these different campaigns that have kind of gathered pace. Some people might remember about 5 years ago, there was a big consultation about the hospital reconfiguration plans, and as part of that maternity reconfiguration, there was a big consultation at that point, and we had a campaign. We had a video that we put out there. We did rounds of interviews, and at that point, obviously, the decision was made that ultimately St Mary's Birth Centre would close. So we ultimately lost our fight with that, which we were all devastated by, and lots of local people were devastated. But the message from that consultation was, look, St Mary's isn't closing, it's just relocating as part of the building work and the improvements happening in Leicester City at the two hospitals. So what they are aiming to do is build kind of a super duper children's hospital and maternity offering on the Royal, and have the freestanding midwife-led birth centre, so what St Mary's does, at a site at the General. And so what they were selling us was, oh no, it's not closing, it's relocating. We were always skeptical about that line of argument, if I'm going to be honest, but that was what was said at the time. So it felt very much like that was it. The line was drawn, there was nothing more that could be done. But obviously the timetable of that has always been a bit of a question mark. And what's happened is that building work hasn't taken place. And meanwhile, in June, there was this big announcement that came to say that services, so birthing and postnatal services, were going to be closing on a temporary basis. This pause, the language of pause and temporary, was used at St Mary's for 6 months because they've encountered various challenges, and they need to work out what they're doing, what they're doing with it, because they're struggling to maintain it as a service in their eyes. I'm trying to be as fair as I can here and as neutral as I can in presenting the position we find ourselves in. So that's where we are. We've had this pause announced. The campaign group, it's not just myself and Anna involved with the campaign group, although we are taking a lead on the protest event. The protest group kind of swung into action again. We thought, hang on a minute, that's a bit sneaky. You promised us that you protect services, and it was a relocation, not a closure. And at the very least, you should be protecting these services until they're ready to go at the general. And also, while we're at it, can we just have another conversation about that decision anyway? Because we think it's bonkers. So, yes, we've kind of got two different aims, really. We want to obviously get the centre back open in the first instance, but we also want to challenge them on the decision that they took a few years ago and say, look, really think again about that.
Yeah, because you're saying about this relocation, and I'm going to echo the words of my dad here. If it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, 99% of the time, it's a duck. And so how can it, obviously, if it's going to be relocated to Leicester General, that's all lovely and happiness and roses. But if the video is, like, if we're moving to Leicester, doesn't that not mean that the centre's closing because it's no longer going to be in Melton?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the argument was when we did the campaign a few years ago, the kind of feedback was slightly patronising and very along the lines of, yes, you're absolutely correct. St Mary's is wonderful. We're so glad you've highlighted it, but wouldn't it be wonderful if more women could use it? So why don't we centralise it so that more women can access this fantastic service that you have highlighted? Now, I suppose that carries some weight as an argument until you start to really drill down on the location. And we would argue, and we've always argued, that the services provided at St Mary's, having them located in Melton Mowbray for the whole trust is not an issue.
No.
Because actually, when you drill down into the journey times into the city, getting there, parking, navigating a larger hospital site, and getting in front of a midwife, the journey times wherever you are across Leicestershire, unless you're literally living in the city centre, wherever else you are in the county and indeed in Rutland, there's not much in it, and in some cases it's a lot quicker to travel to Melton Mowbray and to travel to St Mary's than to travel into the city centre. So I think this argument about more women being able to access it if it's in the city centre is complete poppycock. That's the technical phrase I would use.
I was about to say I was going to go with a 8-letter word that began with B and rhymed with pull hit. But we will go with poppycock just for a community standard's sake. So obviously it sounds to me as if the people behind these particular decisions were about as much use as the chocolate teapot, so to speak. So obviously you guys have been really productive. You've been having these brilliant dialogues. So what made you turn around and go, right, we've had the dialogues, we've had the petitions. The only natural next step now is to have that official formal protest?
Anna, do you want to take this one?
Yes.
And it's your fault. It's Anna's fault, by the way.
It's my fault. Sorry, everyone. So I had an incredible experience at St Mary's with my first little girl. I had her in the pool at St Mary's, and I stayed there for 2 or 3 nights. And it was it was on par with private care. It was one-to-one care. It was absolutely incredible. The team were phenomenal. And I really wanted to have my second child there, knowing that it was so wonderful. Why would I want to go anywhere else? Like, it was incredible. And I'm a bit of a hospital phobic anyway, and it didn't feel like a hospital at all. With my son, unfortunately, we had some complications and ended up having to have him in the general, which was worlds apart from the care I'd received at St Mary's. But I did transfer back to St Mary's, which the team then picked up on things that had been missed at the bigger hospitals. So I'm a huge advocate for St Mary's, for the care, for the incredible team that are based there, who are absolutely incredible midwives, like top of the game midwives that we should be using them as a gold standard of care that other midwives can train from, because they're so dedicated, their commitment is next level, and just medically they are outstanding. So I saw the closure, was horrified, went onto the Save St Mary's page and messaged Helen and was like, has anyone thought about a protest? I think this would be a great idea. And lo and behold, here we are. So Helen has been incredible, absolutely instrumental in getting all of this together. And we've had meetings, we've had online meetings with people that want to be involved, because so many people are so passionate about St Mary's. So many people still don't know about St Mary's. And it's just, there's so much more that could be done, and it feels tactical. And this is what Helen and I, when we met with the CEO, it feels like a closure by the back door.
Yeah.
A little bit sneaky, and not in a way, there's no provision. If they close that now, pause it now, close it, it's temporary, whatever, if it doesn't become temporary, there's then no provision of a freestanding midwife-led unit, which there are in other trusts. We have requested freedom of information from other trusts around the UK, and the volumes in other trusts are much smaller, who still have a freestanding midwife-led units, one or more, and these units are at no risk of closure. So it doesn't quite make sense. We believe that there is a call for us to still have a freestanding midwife-led unit in Melton. Melton is getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the month. We are a rural town, so the outreach from Melton as well to rural communities who are more likely to go for a birthing centre, it just doesn't make sense.
No.
That's why we want to protest. Yeah.
And I just want to jump in now. It's voices like Anna's that are probably more important than voices like mine, because it's been a long time since I've had a baby. I'm not going to be having any more, but it's for the current generation of people who are having babies and future generations. It's very easy for people like me to say, well, I've been okay, I've used it, so I don't have to worry about it. I really want to encourage people who have used the birth centre or will never use the birth centre to still be invested in this, even if it doesn't directly impact you right now, or won't impact you, because we want future generations of women and families to benefit from this provision. So yeah, it's always difficult trying to get people to care about things that don't impact them directly. But this is
this problem.
So this is so important, because it speaks not just to the maternity care, but it speaks to a broader piece about women's healthcare, but also about our health services in general in Melton. This is within the context of there being so many issues with health provision for the growing community of Melton, and I think that it's about time we started fighting back in the right way, of course, but we need to be saying to the ICB and the NHS Trust, look, we are a growing community here in Melton. Please stop taking our services away, and please will you notice how many services are lacking and do something about it. And so I'm going on a bit of a rant now, slightly broader.
Rant away.
I am so passionate about us actually raising our voices about this. And so even if the birth centre itself does not resonate with you, please come down and raise your voice about it, because it taps into a broader conversation piece about Melton as a community.
And that conversation, it seems, going on in the chats is absolutely off the hit. I will whack him on the thing now. Photography, all about the edit, has just said that they're 100% supporting this, and has gone on further to say that it's not a good idea to remove the infrastructure in a town that is growing all of the time. And the turnout that I'm seeing on TikTok as well is brilliant as well. It's probably one of the biggest number of streams I've ever had on there. So clearly this is something that the people of Melton, and the rest of the borough for that matter, are incredibly passionate about. How does that make you feel to know that you've got so much support? Because I've said this to you before, Helen, in that you have this a bit like Helen, we've spoke about your ability to kind of bring other parties together, and I'm seeing on the feeds that you've got so much support from like every orifice, parties, etc., the pair of you. So how does that make you feel to know that so many people within the borough have kind of got your backs on this one?
Oh, it's hugely humbling and encouraging and amazing and all of those words. I mean, this is not about party politics. This is not a partisan issue. I had a really good 20-minute phone call with our MP a couple of days ago. We're not in the same party.
No.
He couldn't be more supportive of what we're doing and of me as a campaigner and of the group. He's absolutely brilliant. You know, I've had, you know, Anna and I don't share party politics. You know, this is not about politics at all. This is an issue. And actually, you know how I feel about this, Kelly. At my level of politics, I'm not like a massive politician. I'm a little borough councillor. At that level, I don't think at borough council level, party politics shouldn't come into it, in my view. You know, I have colleagues who I deeply respect and who I work with across the entire political spectrum, and who don't sit anywhere on the political spectrum, who couldn't give a flying monkeys about politics. You know, this is a local issue that we should be united behind. You know, there's so much conversations in the news at the moment about everything that divides us. You know, people are being divided into camps, us and them, and I think this is something on which, whatever other views you've got about everything else that's happening, this is something that can really bring us together and a community together. And I think there's strength in unity. So, you know, whereas people might have been protesting in other ways that different people have got strong views about on either side, this is something that I hope everyone will agree. There's no controversial views about this. There's no debate to be had about this. There's no us and them about this. The only us and them is about our community and the decision makers. And we need to come out and show our support together, and actually, you know, only in being united. So I really hope that after, you know, the last few weeks of other conversations taking place locally, this will be a real turning point for us as a community to say, hang on a minute, we're not going to be divided. We're not going to be divided on this issue. We are not divided. No. You know, and we may disagree about other things, but we are coming together because this is too important.
Yeah, I mean, photography all about the edit has been like lighting the comments on fire, has gone on further and saying about its community coming together and support for the family. And I totally agree with that statement. And I'm pretty sure you both, sounds like you both are agreeing as much.
It's really nice to see, sorry to jump in, Kelly, it's really nice to see going out to hand out the posters and stuff, talking to local businesses. So many local businesses are on board. Local businesses have supported us in terms of the print, the banners, the high-vis jackets, all of it. Like, the businesses have been incredible, donating their resources and their time. And even them showing their support shows just what a gem St Mary's really is. And it would be such a shame to lose it. Everyone is so invested in keeping it open.
And I completely understand why. Like, I am not a mum. I personally don't have any intention to be one anytime soon, unless it's got 4 legs and a tail. But I know, speaking to people, seeing the support in the campaign, just how important this facility is. And so for me personally, seeing that there are people in the trust that don't acknowledge its support is, well, it's nonsensical in my opinion.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think they don't see that we support it. I just think our support for it and our love for it hasn't been enough to move them on the decisions that they feel they have to take. And that is a conversation that we are still trying to have with the trust, and trying to present them with other options that they could take. Because look, let's face it, again, me trying to be fair about this, the NHS has not got a lot of money to spare. And I wouldn't want to be the people making the decisions about which services to cut and which to keep going. Because, you know, everybody feels passionately about their bit, don't they? Right? And someone has got to make the unpopular decisions. I get that. I think, you know, we all get it. We're not, you know, we're not stupid. We understand how these things work. So what we've tried to do is try to argue very strongly that this could be in the trust's benefit in terms of their resources if they helped encourage higher usage of the birth centre, because that could take people away from the city centre. So they could actually invest in it to help solve some of their other problems and their resource issues, and it could be a benefit to them. It's not just us stamping our feet and saying we want to protect something that's important to us, you find a cut elsewhere. It's trying to get the decision makers to think more creatively and outside the box about how they staff it, how they resource it, who they encourage to use it, how they encourage people to use it. A big part of our campaign has been pointing out to the trust that they do not sell it as a service, they do not promote it. We have so many people come to us and say it was never offered to us as a choice. You know, it was never offered to me as a choice first time round. I ended up there, but it wasn't offered to me. And so, you know, we're trying to make the case with the trust that it can be in everybody's benefit for them to keep this service going. But yes, it's not an easy conversation piece to have, but we are having it.
No, and it's refreshing to speak to people that are offering creative solutions as opposed to quote you, Helen, stamping their feet because there's a problem.
Well, you have to, because otherwise the trust can just dismiss you, because they, you know, you can just be put down to the fact that, well, you know, unfortunately cut's got to come somewhere, and you know, they will always put it down to having to make a tough choice to say for the greater good. So we have to try and offer these creative, you know me, Kelly, I'm a solution-based person. I will work with anyone that's trying to, you know, find a solution, and for the trust's benefit, they need to be able to try and have a win out of this as well. So, you know, we are trying to be helpful and trying to be positive, as well as we will be doing a fair amount of stamping our feet as well. That's what Saturday's about. You know, bring your megaphones, bring your whistles, bring your loud voices, and marching is literally, oh, there's the megaphone, the loud hailer. You know, marching is literally stamping your feet.
To say that Photography All About the Edit has just commented that you're welcome to borrow their megaphone if they need it, but it looks the way Anna just whipped that out as if we've already got that department covered. So you've got multiple parts of the protest, haven't you? So you've got the main march, and then you've got something happening afterwards. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so for us it was important to have these two aspects, because we recognise there are a number of people that might want to do something about this that might not be able to be part of a protest as such, for various reasons of their employment or their, you know, political positioning locally or whatever. And we don't want to be adversarial for the sake of it, like, you know, the conversation we just had. We want to be constructive. Yeah. So we wanted to have what we're terming a celebration event of St Mary's, and just acknowledge, like, all that it's. We've lost Anna.
We have lost Anna. Anna.
It's fine. I was doing a lot of talking anyway. Perhaps she's gone and thought, well, Helen can take this. I don't know. Hopefully she'll be back.
I can hear someone's like battery notifications, so maybe it's gone to internet, computer heaven for now.
Yeah, so the bandstand is really about bringing people together to celebrate and also to share stories, because so many people have got a really positive story to tell about St Mary's, and we wanted to give a vehicle for them to do that. So there'll be lots of ways in which people can share around the bandstand just what St Mary's means to them. We also wanted to be able to have some speakers. So I've already mentioned our MP. He's hoping to be with us. He's got to just jiggle about some diary things, but he's hoping to be with us. And if he can be with us at bandstand and address the crowd, so to speak, I'm anticipating a crowd, so don't let me down. He'll be there. A couple of other people sharing as well. There'll be some garden games to keep the little ones entertained, because we recognise again that a lot of people coming will have children. Yeah. So we've got the protest march bit, which is the sort of stamping our feet bit, and then we've got the celebration event where we're hoping to capture just how amazing the facility is and what it means to us and what it has meant to us as a community. As part of that, we're running a competition, this is really important to mention, to see if we can find a family in Melton with the most generations of St Mary's babies. So if you think that's you, grab your great nan or your great grandchild, and come down and see if you can win our competition for the generation, for the most generations of St Mary's babies at St Mary's.
Well, I don't think I will be winning that competition, but it'll be very interesting to see who does. And guys, please know Anna's back. Welcome back, Anna.
Sorry, technical difficulties.
It's all right. I get it. Technology. Best thing when it works, worst thing when it doesn't.
Exactly.
If any consolation, TikTok was trying to throw us drop behind the scenes. So,
Oh, there we go.
so is there anything else that the followers, any other viewers watching this needs to know about tomorrow's event that we haven't already covered on the stream? I'm mindful that we have been quite thorough.
Anna, do you want to share any of the chants? Because Anna's going to be leading the protest bit. Because unfortunately, it's going to kill me, but I can't actually march. So I'm going to be at the bandstand, making sure that those activities are set up okay. So Anna's leading the protest, the actual marching bit.
So I've not written down your really good one, Helen, but we've got the old call and response style one. So what do we want St Mary's? When do we want it? Always, which is quite a good one. Then another one is cuts are scary, save St Mary's. Mums need care, keep St Mary's there. And then we've got the hear our voices, protect our choices. And then we've got babies before budgets as well, which is on a banner. So I've got various banners as well. So if people haven't had a chance to make their own, I've got a couple of spares. I've got my megaphone. I've got my t-shirt. So you'll be able to find me outside the King's Head in a purple t-shirt with a megaphone shouting loudly. So just a case of come on down, please come on down. We want people to take note. We've got various news outlets coming to cover it if Helen's not already said that. And it would just be so nice to see the support there for St Mary's and for the amazing team that work there. So yeah, come and make some noise.
Absolutely. Yeah, the BBC planning to send a camera crew down. So again, please come down because it'll be really embarrassing for us if only like 10 people are there. The one the longer chant that we came up with, and again, I came up with it. It's not my skill set, by the way, right? So this was, if anyone's got a better one, that's great. But I came up with reopen and resource. Don't remove our birthing choice. Breastfeeding scars and tears. Don't ignore postnatal care. There you go. That was the one I came up with. Bit of a mouthful, but there you go. So lots of options there. And please do come. If you haven't got a banner, haven't got time to make one, don't let that stop you coming. Not compulsory.
With all that in mind, thank you so much, ladies, for both coming and joining me. So just to remind you all, if the ticket to do on the banner and our conversation today is not been clear enough, the protest will be taking place tomorrow, i.e. the 30th of August. It's going to be starting at the King's Head. Well, you're going to be gathering at the King's Head at 12:15. For those of you who are new to Melton or from the villages and don't know where the King's Head is, it's at the bottom of Nottingham Street as you're just before you go and cross over to where KFC, Pets at Home, and what used to be Papa John's is. So it's that end of Nottingham Street. And then the march will then take you guys through to Town Park, where, as Helen has said, there'll be a variety of speakers and competitions and games happening to celebrate the impact that St Mary's Birthing Centre has had up and down the borough for many years in the making. So thank you, ladies, both of you, for, as I said at the start, taking the time out of what I imagine to be a very busy period for you both to speak to me today. The response that I've seen so far on the backstage has been really positive. And guys, make sure to rock up tomorrow if you're free and want to support this great cause. So that concludes our Q&A today, and it's goodbye from me. Goodbye from Helen. Thank you.
Bye.
Make sure
Bye.
Bye. Make sure to follow the Save St Mary's Birthing Centre campaign on Facebook if you haven't already for more information, not only just about the process, but any subsequent development happening as well. And obviously, if you haven't already and you want various different Melton Mowbray things, then you can drop me a cheeky follow as well. And other than that, it is goodbye from us both. Well, I say both, all three of us.